Coming to you from the Patriarchal Cathedral of the Resurrection of Christ in Kiev, this is Open Church from Żywe TV. I'm Bohdan Mandziuk, Christ is born. Ukrainian Greek-Catholics around the world have celebrated the Christmas holidays over the last several weeks, sharing in the joy of the incarnate God, Jesus Christ, born of a virgin and baptized in the River Jordan. Notably, this was the first holiday season that our faithful in Italy have celebrated on the same calendar as their Roman Catholic neighbours, after the entire Ukrainian Greek-Catholic Exarchate of Italy switched to the Gregorian calendar last September. Patriarch Sviatoslav has taken a slow and steady approach to calendar reform, telling Radio Free Europe he'd only advocate for a switch to the Gregorian calendar if the Ukrainian Orthodox do so first. Meanwhile, Metropolitan Epiphany, the head of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, shared his hope for a common Christmas date during an interview with Deutsche Welle.
If we were to switch now, we would divide Ukrainian society. But in the future, if we continue to do the work of enlightenment, I expect that within the next 10 years, it'll become clear that the time is right as the majority comes around to a new date.
Patriarch Sviatoslav took the opportunity to share a message of hope during this year's homily broadcast on national television.
Face it, people today don't believe in anything or anybody. They say, I don't believe in the government, even the church. We don't even believe in one another. The pandemic has only made this lack of faith between people worse. Because now, we subconsciously perceive other people as dangerous. We assume they might threaten our health or even bring us death. This lack of faith threatens to divide us. We become defensive among one another. We look for ways of defending our well-being only internally, only within ourselves. Lack of faith ruins our families, our communities, our states, as well as all of contemporary humanity. Lack of faith between neighbors moves them to take up arms. But today, in this nativity feast, the feast of faith, let's return our gaze to Christ, who came to earth to restore people's faith, beginning with himself. Let's fill ourselves with godly optimism when we look to our own lives and to the future. Allow the Lord to become incarnate, to penetrate our lives with his heavenly light of a better future.
The week after Christmas, Patriarch Sviatoslav hosted his annual Prosphora Gala at the International Exhibition Centre in Kiev to raise funds to complete construction of the Patriarchal Cathedral. Meanwhile, in Lviv, the Ukrainian Catholic University took the spirit of Christmas to the streets and invited unhoused people from the street into their warm campus for Christmas Eve dinner. This is the 26th year that the university has shared Christmas Eve dinner with unhoused people. Nearly 150 people joined for the in-person dinner, and an additional 200 were fed with to-go containers. Also in Lviv, hundreds of mourners bid farewell to Ostap Lozinski, a renowned iconographer and religious folklorist who died on Christmas Eve from complications of COVID-19. He was 38 years old. Lozinski was known for his commitment to using traditional Carpathian painting methods, such as reverse painting on glass or Lemko wood icons, but always with a modern spin. He also often worked with musicians, thespians and fashion designers to bring faith alive. Some of his work is currently on display in the Archeparchy of Philadelphia. May his memory be everlasting. Vichnaya pamyat. Also in Philadelphia, the Ukrainian Greek-Catholic parish of St. Nicholas hosted a vigil earlier this month for the victims of a massive fire at a public housing unit in the city. 12 people died in the fire, including 9 children. The tragedy happened on the same block as St. Nicholas Church and the Ukrainian League of Philadelphia building. It's among the deadliest apartment fires America has seen in decades, only to be surpassed by another fire in migrant housing in New York City a few days later. 17 people died there, including 8 children. The Catholic Catechism writes that, quote, "Concern for the health of citizens requires that society help in the attainment of living conditions that allow them to grow and reach maturity. Food and clothing, housing, healthcare, basic education, employment and social assistance." We pray for the memory of the victims of the fires in Philadelphia and New York, so that healing and justice may come to their communities. In Australia, the newly appointed Bishop McCulloch had an opportunity to meet with bishops of other Eastern Catholic churches in the country, especially as they were unable to attend his enthronement due to COVID restrictions. The Melkite, Maronite and Ukrainian bishops discussed their shared ministry, seeing as 10% of Australia's Catholics are Eastern Catholic. And that does it for this week's headlines. We're going to wrap up today's show with a Christmas-themed musical number from Canada. Father Boris Himon, the Associate Pastor at St. Joseph Ukrainian Greek-Catholic Church in Oakville, Ontario, has 4 talented daughters who perform the Christmas carol Bright Night or Niczka ta Jasnaya online. Enjoy!
Нічка та ясная, зоря не світила у Вифлеємі. Пречиста діва сина народила, в яслах на сіні. Слава Богу, слава на висоті, на землі мир спокій. Слава вгорі, мир на землі, людям добра воля.
Thank you for spending your time with us on Open Church from Живе TV. Join us next week at the same time and same place for more news from the church and around the world. Follow Живе TV on social media and email us your tips at press@ugcc.org.ua. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Живе TV on YouTube or Facebook, as well as share it with your friends. Have a blessed day. Christ is born.